Yeah, man, man. Yeah, man, I just forgot to read the news, man. Ik ben net vergeten om... ik was focus aan het spelen, ik vergat nieuws te lezen. I forgot to read the news. And it's American news, man, just common news. So, the news I was talking about, but I was too occupied, busy with this bug brokenness about this protest against this reparation stuff. So, yeah, man, so I'm gonna read it right now, man. And then maybe even a small bit music and then leave it at that. Because it's really about me reading this quick. Let's check it out here, man. Where I have it
Jurmane
here.
Djalis with my news van de Nederlands. On OKANO is Ray movies. Starting with. If the United States steps back from its traditional role as leader of the global trade system, other countries said they are ready to step forward. That's the message coming from several prominent voices right now. Former NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen, who has long admired the United States, recently said, since childhood, he have admired the US. But he added that if America wants to retire from leading the free world, then others will have to take over. Rasmussen has been traveling to countries like Japan and India, promoting what he calls a coalition of wealthy democracies that share similar geopolitical interests. He says they have to stop at 7 countries. During his trip, he even suggested adding India could make it a day-8. At the same time, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has been pushing a similar idea. In a speech at Davos earlier this year, Carney said, the middle powers must act together, because if we are not at the table, we are on the menu. His vision is for countries that are not superpowers to work more closely to protect themselves from the changes in trade policy, especially tariffs. This week, trade ministers from Europe and several Asia-Pacific nations are meeting on the sidelines of the World Trade Organization gathering in Cameroon. They are discussing ways to build stronger ties between the European Union and the CPTPP. That's the big trade agreement among countries in the Pacific region that grew out of the original Trans-Pacific Partnership after the US withdrew. The goal is then necessarily to exclude the United States forever. Instead, these countries want to create more stable rules for trade so they are less dependent on any single nation's decisions. One early focus is something called rules of origin, basically, making it easier for manufacturers in these different blocks to trade with lower tariffs. Former US trade negotiator Barbara Weisel has pointed out that many countries still believe in global trade rules that benefit everyone. She says they are now ready to take responsibility for keeping those rules alive. Of course, not everyone sees this as a smooth or easy process. There are big economic and cultural differences between the regions involved. Some governments are also being cautious, worried about how the current US administration might react. White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro has called the effort typical behavior from liberal Trump haters in places like Canada and Britain. At the same time, he noted that the WTO itself needs reform, something that the Middle Powers Group is also discussing. The broader picture is this: the United States has long pushed for coalitions of willing partners rather than waiting for full global agreement at the WTO. Now, other countries appear to be making the same calculation, but this time, without the US at the center. Whether these efforts lead to a full new alliance or just smaller, practical agreements remains to be seen. But the early signals show that many US allies and partners are actively working to reduce their vulnerability to the shifts in American trade policy. They want predictable rules. And if the US steps back, they are signaling they will try to write some of those rules themselves. My next read is New Cicada Survey Variant BA3, trace spreading in the US, what to know about symptoms and risks. A new COVID-19 variant nicknamed Cicada is being closely monitored as it slowly spreads in the United States and other countries. The variant, officially known as
Yeah, I'm gonna try to fix a better read, man. This one is reading too dodgy, man. I've read this one too dodgy, so I'm reading it. So I've just, I'm busy with it. I'm gonna play a beat or two, and then read another in better English, man. The one I was just reading was too dodgy English, man. I'm gonna try and fix it quick. Yeah, I'm gonna play a beat and then start the news all over again, man. Let's see here. Blah. Real quick. Let me drop this. Wait a minute. Yeah, man. I'm gonna be back quick.
I am Remi Djalis with my news from the Netherlands.
A liar is the devil, a devil is a liar. A liar is the devil, a devil is a liar. A liar is the devil, a devil is a liar. Let the Most High be truth and every man a liar. A liar is the devil, a devil is a liar. A liar is the devil, a devil is a liar. A liar is the devil, a devil is a liar. Let the Most High be truth and every man a liar. I spit your fire, 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 blaze like fire. I'm a dragon, I'm a dragon. I spit fire, I'm a dragon. I spit fire, I'm a dragon. I spit fire, blaze like fire. I spit your fire, 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 fire. I'm a dragon. I spit fire, I'm a dragon. I'm a dragon. I spit fire, I'm a dragon. I spit fire, blaze like fire.
I am Remi Djalis with
A devil is a liar. A liar is the devil. A devil is a liar. A liar is the devil. A devil is a liar. Let the Most High be truth and every man a liar. I spit your fire, 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 blaze like fire. I'm a dragon. I spit fire. I'm a dragon. I'm a dragon. I spit fire. I'm a dragon. I spit fire. Blaze like fire. I spit your fire.
So, man, I'm read the news, man, quick. It's not really that long. It's maybe 20 to half an hour. 20 minutes to half an hour, I think.
Djalis with my news from the Netherlands. On OH KANO is Ray Movies, starting with, if the United States steps back from its traditional role as leader of the global trade system, other countries say they are ready to step forward. That's the message coming from several prominent voices right now. Former NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen, who has long admired the United States, recently said, "Since childhood, I have admired the US," but he added that if America wants to retire from leading the free world, then others will have to take over. Rasmussen has been traveling to countries like Japan and India, promoting what he calls a D7, a coalition of wealthy democracies that share similar geopolitical interests. He says it doesn't have to stop at 7 countries. During his trip, he even suggested adding India could make it a D8. At the same time, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has been pushing a similar idea. In a speech at Davos earlier this year, Carney said, "The middle powers must act together, because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu." His vision is for countries that are not superpowers to work more closely to protect themselves from sudden changes in trade policy, especially tariffs. This week, trade ministers from Europe and several Asia-Pacific nations are meeting on the sidelines of the World Trade Organization, gathering in Cameroon. They're discussing ways to build stronger ties between the European Union and the CPTPP. That's the big trade agreement among countries in the Pacific region that grew out of the original Trans-Pacific Partnership after the US withdrew. The goal isn't necessarily to exclude the United States forever. Instead, these countries want to create more stable rules for trade, so they're less dependent on any single nation's decisions. One early focus is something called rules of origin, basically making it easier for manufacturers in these different blocs to trade with lower tariffs. Former U.S. trade negotiator Barbara Wiesel has pointed out that many countries still believe in global trade rules that benefit everyone. She says they're now ready to take responsibility for keeping those rules alive. Of course, not everyone sees this as a smooth or easy process. There are big economic and cultural differences between the regions involved. Some governments are also being cautious, worried about how the current U.S. administration might react. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro has called the effort typical behavior from liberal Trump haters. in places like Canada and Britain. At the same time, he noted that the WTO itself needs reform, something that the Middle Powers Group is also discussing. The broader picture is this: the United States has long pushed for coalitions of willing partners rather than waiting for full global agreement at the WTO. Now, other countries appear to be making the same calculation, but this time without the US at the center. Whether these efforts lead to a full new alliance or just smaller, practical agreements remains to be seen. But the early signals show that many US allies and partners are actively working to reduce their vulnerability to sudden shifts in American trade policy. They want predictable rules. And if the US steps back, they're signaling they'll try to write some of those rules themselves. My next read is New Cicada, COVID variant BA.3.2, spreading in the US. What to know about symptoms and risks. A new COVID-19 variant nicknamed Cicada is being closely monitored as it slowly spreads in the United States and other countries. The variant, officially known as BA.3.2, is a highly mutated descendant of an earlier Omicron subvariant called BA.3. It was first detected in South Africa in November 2024 and later identified in the US in a traveler returning from the Netherlands in June 2025. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, BA.3.2 has been detected in wastewater samples or cases in at least 25 states, including California, Florida, New York, Texas, Michigan, and others. Globally, it has appeared in more than 20 countries. In some European nations like Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands, it has accounted for up to around 30% of cases in certain periods. What makes BA.3.2 stand out is its large number of mutations, roughly 70 to 75 in the spike protein. Experts say these changes may allow the variant to partially escape immunity from previous infections or vaccinations. The World Health Organization classified it as a variant under monitoring in December 2025. Despite the mutations, there is currently no evidence that cicada causes more severe disease or leads to higher rates of hospitalization compared to other recent variants. Public health officials note that overall COVID cases remain low nationally in the US. Symptoms of the cicada variant appear similar to those of other circulating COVID strains. Common signs include cough, fever or chills, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, fatigue, headache, shortness of breath, loss of taste or smell, muscle aches, gastrointestinal issues like nausea or diarrhea. Symptoms can vary from person to person and are often mild, especially in vaccinated individuals. Most people recover with rest and supportive care. Current 2025 to 2026 COVID vaccines target earlier lineages like JN.1. Laboratory studies suggest they may be somewhat less effective at preventing infection with BA.3.2 due to its mutations, but they are still expected to provide good protection against severe illness and hospitalization. Antiviral treatments also remain effective. Experts emphasize that while BA.3.2 is increasing in detections, it has not shown a strong growth advantage over dominant variants like XFG or others. It has not caused major surges so far, though surveillance has decreased in many places, making exact prevalence harder to track. Health officials recommend standard precautions. Test if you have symptoms, stay home when sick, consider masking in crowded indoor spaces, and stay up to date with vaccinations, especially for older adults or those with underlying conditions. The situation is still evolving, and scientists continue to monitor whether BA.3.2 gains more traction. For now, it remains one of several variants in circulation rather than a dominant threat. My next read is, Cuba turns to the Vatican for help amid U.S. oil blockade and growing crisis. Facing severe economic pressure from the United States, the Cuban government is asking the Vatican to help mediate talks with Washington. According to recent reports, Cuban officials have held high-level meetings with Pope Leo XIV and other Vatican leaders. Their request is for the Holy See to act as an intermediary, aiming to ease a U.S.-imposed de facto oil blockade that has caused widespread fuel shortages and prolonged blackouts across the island. The crisis has reached levels some observers compare to Cuba's special period in the early 1990s after the fall of the Soviet Union. Transportation, hospitals, and basic services have been heavily affected. Even US-funded humanitarian aid channeled through the Catholic Church has been delayed at ports because of a lack of fuel for trucks. In some areas, church volunteers have had to distribute aid using donkeys, wheelbarrows, and bicycles. The Vatican has a long history of involvement in US-Cuba relations. It played a key role in the diplomatic opening that led to President Barack Obama's visit to Cuba in 2016. Popes have repeatedly criticized the long-standing US trade embargo, while quietly supporting dialogue. Cuban officials hope that Pope Leo XIV, the first American-born pope, might carry influence with the Trump administration and Catholic figures within it. In response to these efforts, Cuba recently announced it would release 51 prisoners as a goodwill gesture. The U.S. pressure intensified after actions in Venezuela that cut off a major source of oil for Cuba. The Trump administration has blocked oil shipments and warned other countries against sending fuel to the island, citing the goal of promoting change in Havana. U.S. officials argue that the hardships stem from the Cuban government's own policies and mismanagement, not just external measures. They say humanitarian aid is being provided through the church precisely to help ordinary Cubans. The Catholic Church remains one of the most respected institutions on the island outside the government. Cuban bishops have called for political reforms and dialogue, a message echoed by Pope Leo XIV, who has urged all parties to avoid actions that increase suffering and to pursue negotiations instead. Meetings in Rome have involved U.S. diplomats, Vatican officials, and Latin American ambassadors. Discussions have touched on getting aid delivered more effectively and exploring possible steps toward reducing tensions. Whether the Vatican's involvement will lead to concrete results remains uncertain. The Trump administration has signaled it is open to talks, but believes the Cuban government must make changes to address the root causes of the crisis. Cuba, for its part, seeks relief from the oil restrictions and recognition of its sovereignty. As blackouts continue and daily life becomes harder for many of Cuba's 11 million people, the coming weeks may reveal if quiet diplomacy through the Vatican can help bridge the gap between Havana and Washington. My next read is, Joe Rogan says Democrats were tougher on the border than Trump, what he cited. On a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, podcaster Joe Rogan argued that Democrats in the past took a tougher public stance on illegal immigration than President Donald Trump. Rogan pointed to comments made by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton during her 2007 to 2008 presidential campaign. He described her position as hardcore, quoting her as saying that people convicted of crimes should be deported. Those who stay should pay a stiff penalty, get in line, and learn English. Rogan noted that the audience at the time cheered the remarks and added that such views would sound like a hardcore right-wing 2026 perspective today. Rogan's guest, former U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer Bill Thompson, agreed. Rogan then highlighted former President Barack Obama's record, stating that Obama deported more people than Trump. He specifically mentioned that in Obama's first year of his second term, authorities deported over 409,000 people, compared to fewer than 260,000 in Trump's first year during his initial administration. Rogan emphasized that these earlier Democratic positions contrast with the current political debate. Trump has promised the largest deportation effort in modern U.S. history during his second term, directing immigration and customs enforcement to increase interior enforcement and removals of individuals living in the country illegally. However, public opinion appears mixed. A poll conducted by The Washington Post, ABC News, and Ipsos found that 58% of Americans believe the Trump administration has gone too far in its deportation efforts, according to results reported earlier this year. The discussion on Rogan's show reflects a broader conversation about how immigration rhetoric and policy have evolved across party lines over the past 2 decades. Rogan suggested that positions once expressed by prominent Democrats would be considered strongly conservative by today's standards. As the debate over border security and deportations continues, these historical comparisons are frequently brought up by commentators on both sides to highlight shifts in political messaging and enforcement priorities. My next read is, Hamilton star Christopher Jackson flubs national anthem at Met's opening day, fans react. Grammy-winning actor and singer Christopher Jackson, best known for originating the role of George Washington in the Broadway hit Hamilton, is getting a lot of attention online after a slip-up during the national anthem. The moment happened on March 26, 2026, before the New York Mets home opener against the Pittsburgh Pirates at Citi Field. Jackson was invited to perform the Star-Spangled Banner in front of a packed stadium. He started strongly, but when he reached the line "O'er the ramparts we watched," he paused briefly and instead repeated an earlier line, "What so proudly we hailed." He quickly recovered, picked up at "We're so gallantly streaming," and finished the rest of the anthem without further issues. Most fans inside Citi Field appeared not to notice the mistake in the moment. However, once the game broadcast aired, viewers at home quickly pointed it out on social media. The irony wasn't lost on many. The man famous for playing America's first president had stumbled on the U.S. national anthem. Reactions were mixed. Some people felt sympathetic. One viewer said her stomach fell when she heard the flub and felt bad for Jackson. Others were more critical, joking about the contrast with his Hamilton role. One popular comment read, "Chris Jackson plays George Washington in Hamilton. Forgets the words to the national anthem on national TV." There was also plenty of humor. One user quipped that it was okay because the Star-Spangled Banner was written after George Washington's death. Another joked that the mistake might have affected Pirates pitcher Paul Skeens, who was pulled early after a rough first inning. Despite the online buzz, Jackson later addressed the moment. He described it as a brief lapse, about 5 seconds where one line got away from him, and said he's only human. He added that he remains grateful for the opportunity and won't hesitate to sing the anthem again in the future. On the field, the Mets went on to win their opener against the Pirates. It wasn't the cleanest start for either team. The Mets gave up early runs before mounting a comeback. But the game itself quickly overshadowed the pregame moment. This isn't the first time a celebrity has mixed up the national anthem lyrics on live television, and it probably won't be the last. In a world of high-pressure live performances, even seasoned professionals can have an off moment. For Mets fans, who are used to dramatic ups and downs, the day ended on a positive note with a victory. Whether Jackson's flub becomes a funny footnote or a running joke remains to be seen as the 2026 baseball season gets underway. My next read is, Israel kills Iran's IRGC Navy commander in strike on Bandar Abbas. Latest in escalating conflict, Israel has announced the killing of Ali Reza Tangsiri, the commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, in a precision airstrike on the port city of Bandar Abbas. The Israeli Defense Forces stated that the strike also eliminated other senior naval officers, including the Navy's top intelligence chief, Behnam Rezaei. The operation took place while Tangsiri was meeting with senior naval leaders, effectively removing much of Iran's top naval command structure in one blow. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz described the strike as a direct message to the IRGC, saying Israel would continue operations inside Iran to achieve its war objectives. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also confirmed the killing, calling Tangsiri someone who had blood on his hands. Tangsiri had led Iran's IRGC Navy for several years and was accused by Israel of orchestrating attacks on oil tankers, mining operations, and the recent blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Israeli officials say his removal severely weakens Iran's ability to control maritime operations in the strategically vital waterway, which handles about 20% of global oil and LNG shipments. This strike is the latest in a series of targeted operations against senior Iranian military and political figures since the conflict intensified in late February, as part of what the U.S. has called Operation Epic Fury. The broader campaign aims to degrade Iran's missile capabilities, naval forces, and leadership structure. Iran has responded with continued missile and drone attacks, often carried out through proxy groups. Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts continue behind the scenes. Mediators from countries including Pakistan, Turkey, and Egypt are pushing for indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran. Reports indicate the United States has presented a 15-point proposal that includes sanctions relief, limits on Iran's nuclear and missile programs, and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran, for its part, is demanding an end to targeted killings and recognition of its sovereignty claims over the strait. Analysts warn that while these high-profile strikes weaken Iran's command structure in the short term, they also risk further escalation in a conflict that is now entering its fourth week. Global energy prices remain elevated due to disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, and the situation continues to affect international shipping and regional stability. The coming days may show whether these military actions lead to stronger diplomatic pressure for a truce or push both sides toward even broader confrontation. My next read is: U.S. pushes NATO and G7 allies to join effort against Iran's Strait of Hormuz blockade. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is urging NATO and G7 allies to take a more active role in addressing the ongoing conflict with Iran, now in its fourth week. The push comes as Iran maintains a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway that carries about 20% of the world's oil and LNG shipments. This has driven up global fuel prices and raised concerns about energy security. At a G7 foreign ministers meeting in France, Rubio called on allies to step up and help restore stability in the strait. He argued that European and other nations have a strong interest in reopening the waterway because they depend far more on energy supplies from the region than the United States does. UK, German, and French officials have expressed support for a quick resolution and condemned attacks on shipping and energy sites. However, many European leaders remain reluctant to commit to direct military involvement, viewing the conflict as primarily a US and Israel-initiated matter rather than a shared NATO responsibility. President Donald Trump has sharply criticized NATO for what he calls inaction. He has described the alliance as unwilling to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz, contrasting it with past U.S. support for Ukraine. Trump has warned that Washington will remember allies' positions on this issue. Meanwhile, the Pentagon is considering sending several thousand additional troops to the Middle East, including elements of the 82nd Airborne Division. Reports suggest planners are preparing options that could include larger ground operations, further strikes on Iranian targets, or efforts to secure strategic areas near the strait. President Trump has paused certain strikes on Iran's energy sector until early April to allow space for possible negotiations. Though no high-level talks have been confirmed yet, the operation, known as Operation Epic Fury, was launched to degrade Iran's military capabilities, including its missile systems and naval forces. Iran has responded with attacks on U.S. bases and by deploying advanced weapons, with support from some international partners. Analysts warn that continued escalation carries significant long-term risks for the United States, including the possibility of a prolonged conflict and broader regional instability. Many experts suggest that diplomacy, multilateral talks, and stronger regional security partnerships may offer the most sustainable path forward to protect global shipping lanes and reduce tensions. As the situation develops, the coming days could clarify whether allies increase their involvement or whether the U.S. continues to bear the main burden of military efforts in the region. My next read is: in the next video, I am Remi Djalis from OKANO TV Nederland, with my news. I will now proceed with playing my own home-made music. Soca, Kasiko, Sukus, reggae, and more own home-made beats. I am Remi Djalis with my news.
So man, you've heard it, and then I forgot in the last video I was doing because of these. Because I had many of these slides here, man, about this, even about this bulk brokenness protesting and Africans again and Caribbean people about this. Not this and this. Oh yeah, I had this because you see over here and what was written? Oh yeah, it was about this. I took a hidden camera to Iyesu. What is written there? Iyesu. What was written in one of my videos? Ayesu. And these people from Suriname was screaming, oh, it's from the, no, it's just an African. You see it there? Ayesu. These people, yeah. That's why I made a screenshot about this. So you can see that these people, they are really fools. When I say they have no history, they don't know anything. But what they do is try to trigger people for people to come out and then say something. They will copy it. No, man, with us, it's consequential. That's what you don't understand. Do whatever you want to do and yeah. Enough said, nigga. So I was checking all this. You see, I almost got stuck again in this these guys, man. US voted no to Ghana reparation claim. Is there anything new? Because the US it has been considering so-called slaves to be 3/5 of a man. So why would they be any different this time? Even England and these Argentina people said no. They don't consider slavery against these Africans to be a crime. And I don't think black Americans do also, because they hate these Caribbeans and these so-called Africans. So and that's the problem I was talking about, and even in the last video. These people, they want reparation for what happened to enslaved Africans, but they claim to be from North America, native Africans or Indians or whatever they claim to be. So you were never in slavery, because the people in slavery were so-called Africans, and you claim not to be an African. I am African from the Amazon jungle in South America. So I know these things what I'm talking about. It's not just saying. Real talk is nothing new to me. Y'all been saying this stuff. Yeah, you are the African. I am from the plantation. I am from the city. We are not the same people. And now we here in Europe. I've been here for tens of years, and now these people are come. We need to come together. No, man. Yeah? No. Thank you. After attacking my people for hundreds of years, then that's what I mean with these black Americans. When these and continental Africans get to know them, their behavior, not all of them, 30% of every people is normal. 70% of every race on this planet is the devil. I'm saying that. And you see, even here, 70% of the African diaspora are Igbo. Professor drops shocking evidence. Yeah, many of these people are in Paramaribo in Suriname. Paramaribo. They are over there, yeah? Many, they are mixed there with most. Go over there and check it for yourself. Because you might say something and somebody comes out and say, I'm not from the jungle, man. I am one of these crazies. Yeah, so bad that, man. So, and you see here, UN votes to recognize the transatlantic slave trade atrocity. But the United States and England and Argentina and said no, and I think the Netherlands, and I'm not sure if it's the Netherlands or three others said they abstain, so they didn't vote along with it. Just like, man, I won't say anything, man. Just whatever happens, we go along with that. See, FBA is outside touching grass to fight the president of Ghana and Africa. You see what I was saying? That's why I was cussing them out in the video I just posted. See what they doing? FBA is outside touching grass to fight the president of Ghana and Africa, man. Black Americans are doing this. So-called enslaved Americans are doing this. And you wanna come out here, we are brothers, man. Not with me, nigga. Yeah? You are the KKK. I was saying it in many videos. You thought it was a joke. It's not a joke. It's been like this in America for hundreds of years, man. There is black people. They like to support and the enslaver to fight against my people. It's nothing new. That's why when I make my videos, you see many of these people will come and say, if you're not one of us, we will not watch your videos, man. Like anybody was expecting, if a Chinese would say, I'm not watching your videos because you are not Chinese, I would say, I didn't make these videos for Chinese. I just made a video. Those who want to see it, they go and see it. Those who don't want to see it, they watch another video. I didn't know that you existed even, man. Don't kid yourself. Real talk. Because many of these people are sick. They think you're making these videos because of them. I'm just making a video. I've been making videos from 2006 on YouTube, man. When I drop these videos, it's for those who wants to see it. If it's African or Caucasian, whatever, it's their business. Nigga, I speak on what I know about my house and my business. Anything I speak on out here has had something to do with me directly. I'm not coming out here talking about other people's business. That's the real talk, nigga. That's why I come out here and say, speak on your own house. What is happening in your house? You cannot come and speak on my people when you are the enemy of my ancestors. That's sickness. Real talk, man. So black Americans to Ghana, we are not Africans. Yeah, leave us alone. You've seen it, man. I'm gonna leave it at that. Because I've spoken about this in the last video. I was gonna read the news, but I forgot to read the news. That's why I'm doing this one quick. And I just read the news. I'm gonna leave it at that. Play a beat, and then you've seen it, man. This is happening in Suriname, and these people are telling me I have to become Afro with them. Do you understand what I'm saying? These people who hate my race of people will come out and say you have to become Afro and black, but you hate my race. Evidently so. I know. Uh, Delusional. They think anybody wants to become them. When you are considered to be nothing, you will go out there and look for someone you can get something on and try to put them down. That's what they doing, because the Caucasian they have been beating these black Americans for hundreds of years, and now they out here looking for another people against whom they can kick and say, I'm above you now, nigga. Yeah, I'm Ohkano. I was never in slavery. I'm from the Amazon jungle. African from America is my race. Not you. You are from the plantation and considered to be a Negro, and a product of the European. Hence, you have an 8 to 20% of Caucasian blood in your bloodstream. You saying it's not me saying. It's black Americans saying it. It's their business. But don't come out here like you represent my people, because you don't. That's the real talk, man. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna push it and play one beat or whatever, and then leave it at that. These people, yeah, let me not start again. Let me not start. You see, I was all, let me, asan di metaki? Ishasan ya so tog ni dembe go kosi de mana akanalia kabate de mabe ko belsko tu. Isi de mai meke video da de mai potisanya kosi manfu Caribbean da de mango da de go meke Maroon film. Taki we are the Maroons. I am the Maroon. And now you're gonna make film. You are the Maroon when you hate my race. So you are stealing history. Na sande de duyere ko moksi da de man bigi we ko si bigi fufu isani fe gwa Holland anga Engeland gwe make show en kenabe denga sama. Mine yere. Uhorenda pesa wedu of uno edu na usak alama sa ng abien gamang omdat usap taki de mana isi den saving kya sem. Ja, de man verdrag na taal datum the Saramacano and treaty is 1662. My OKANO treaty, or at least the territory I live in of the OKANO, is in 1760. Mine original treaty with the Caucasian is 1620. Yeah, when I say many of these Negroes who come out here, they came there later. I don't know them. The Caucasian brought them there to Suriname or whatever. In my territory, they have to stay 10 hours away from where my people, my race live in South America. Real talk. Yeah, that's why it's just like in Africa what Boko Haram is doing. That's what is going on in America. Even back in slave days, Boko Haram are slave raiders. They used to come into the jungle, attack my people, and capture them and sell them to the Caucasian. That's what these black Americans, many of them, were doing also. They are called black hunters, zwarte jagers, bounty hunters. Yeah, and a bounty on Curaçao. Nigga, bounty hunter in Northern America. You see, I'm elaborating again on this stuff, man. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep going on this sickness, plantation sickness of these people, man. Real talk. Yeah, laters, man.
Just feel that bass. Drop. Wait for it. To the back, let me see you go up, down, left, right, spin around. Let's go. No lyrics, just living. No talking, just feeling. Turn it up, never down. This is our song now. Keep moving. Beats gone, but the vibe stays. Left side, right side. Hey!